Hi, I'm Rick Thigpen. At Public Service, we believe all citizens need to be informed about the important economic and environmental issues that affect their communities. That's why we're proud to support programming produced by the Caucus Educational Corporation.
Funding for this edition of One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been provided by PSE&G, committed to providing safe, reliable energy now and in the future. United Airlines. Choose New Jersey. Our mission is attracting companies to the Garden State. TD Bank. The New Jersey Economic Development Authority. The Turrell Fund, supporting right from the start NJ. And by Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield of New Jersey. Promotional support provided by NJ.com. Small news, big news, true Jersey. And by ROINJ, informing and connecting businesses in New Jersey.
This is One-on-One. I'm an equal American just like you are.
The jobs of tomorrow are not the jobs of yesterday.
Look at this. You got this?
Here it is, man. Look at that.
Life without dance is boring.
I don't care how good you are or how good you think you are, there is always something to learn.
Do you enjoy talking politics?
No.
People call me because they feel nobody's paying attention.
Our culture, I don't think, has ever been tested the way it's being tested right now.
Such a good question. High five.
Hi, I'm Steve Adubato. This is One-on-One, and more importantly right now, we're coming to you from the NJTV Agnes Vera studio in Newark. It's exciting to be here, and we are also excited to have, all the way from San Francisco, she is Linda Harrison, Director and Chief Executive Officer of the beautiful, iconic Newark Museum. Good to see you.
Thank you. Thank you. Good to be here.
So you've been in the museum, it's not a, I don't know if I call it business. You've been a part of the museum world for a few years, right?
Yeah, for several years. In San Francisco, from the Museum of the African Diaspora. Came out of the corporate world, crossed the table and said, okay, I'm going to use those skills to make museums and museum culture more creative.
So you come to Brick City, after a national search to find a new leader, they identify you. I asked you this right before we got on the air. Help us in this. So, Linda, first time you walk in and you see the Newark Museum, by the way, if we can put up the website of the Newark Museum so people can find out more about it, it'd be great. First time you see it, you say?
I say spectacular and provocative.
Because?
Because this is one of the best collections in the country. Actually, in the world in some cases.
Is that right?
Oh, yes, yes. We just got featured in New York Times on our jewelry collection, which is one of the top 10 jewelry collections in the world, next to Victoria and Albert's collection, in the same breath.
You know, I was also saying to you that growing up as a kid in the city, just a few blocks away from where we're taping in Newark, you know, I used to go to the Newark Museum, the Newark Public Library around the corner, right?
Right,
and I used to hear the name John Cotton Dana.
Yes.
Right, John Cotton Dana. Did he design, talk about iconic leaders in this field of culture and the arts, did he design the museum?
He designed what is the structure, what we know as a museum, that concept of having a museum for the people, having science, having art, and technology. Believe it or not, 110 years ago, he said, we're going to put those concepts in one place. And the shift was being a museum for the people.
But you're talking about a museum for the people, but there's a transformation going on.
Oh, yes.
Right? Describe that.
Yes. Well, this is one of the things that attracted me about coming here, to be able to walk in the footsteps of Beatrice Windsor, Mary Sue Sweeney Price.
Talk about a great leader.
Yeah, 5 women leaders of this museum over the course of 110 years. And so for me to be able to continue that legacy and to transform the museum while the city of Newark is transforming.
Is there what is the connection between the transformation at the Newark Museum and the quote-unquote renaissance going on, particularly downtown in the city?
To me, a destination. It's a destination location. And that's what I want to transform the museum to be, a destination museum that people come, whether it's the museum or even the Ballantine House, that it is a place where people want to come and learn more, go deeper into our collections.
Linda, give us an example about a collection. I don't know I know we have pictures, and I don't know if they match up, but give us an example of an exhibit that you say, And this is one I was thinking about. Is it the Wendy Redstar exhibit?
Well,
is that
yes.
a good example?
Actually, that is a good example
You
because
pick it,
what we're
whatever you say.
doing, we're reimagining
What are we looking
what's
at right
in our
now?
collection. You're looking at Wendy Redstar, which this is an exhibition in our new special exhibitions gallery, A Place in the Sand. And what Wendy is doing and what we are doing is really expanding the diasporas of the stories that we tell. And what we mean by that, you may see a traditional Native American collection of assets. And our goal is that why don't we give you that story from the perspective of a contemporary Crow woman from the Crow Reservation in Montana, and she's a contemporary artist, and you get what it is that she's talking about of her culture from her perspective.
You're doing that through video. Do you have video of her?
Actually, we have video. We have in the collection a sweat lodge that you can go into that sweat lodge and experience what Wendy experienced growing up in the mountains of Montana, in addition to her traditional photography, painting, textiles. So this transformation of the museum is for us to really talk about expanded stories, that the Native American story is an American story. It's not a separate story, and it's a contemporary story.
You know what strikes me about that is we're doing a series on the future of innovation. You are innovating, you and your colleagues at the Newark Museum are innovating in a way that makes what you're doing much more accessible to people, much more relatable to people. That's fascinating to me.
Oh yeah, we part of
technology
that,
changes it, a lot of that, give you more opportunities?
It does. It allows us to really have a digital transformation strategy. And what I mean by that, not only are we going to impact and have more technology in our exhibitions, because that really helps you to understand what's going on and experience it, but also in our public programming. I want us to have radical public programming.
Radical.
And radical means that now you're going to hear an artist like Wendy Starr talk about race, culture, difficult conversations right there in an in-conversation format that connects to our exhibitions, no matter what the exhibition is.
Is part of it, again, getting younger people involved is particularly important because they are obviously our future, a cliche but true. Is some of the programming and some of the technology and some of the methodology about you doing this, is it geared towards getting younger people involved?
Well, actually, technology knows no boundaries. It is geared towards our millennials as well as our older audience.
Those of us who are a bit more mature.
A bit more mature, because you are at any time on your phone. We want to engage you before you even come into the museum on your device, whatever that device is. And once you're in it, then we want to be able to connect you to different experiences. Everyone doesn't want to walk up and just look at an image on a wall.
I got a few seconds left. The Emerging Artist Initiative. Tell us about that, Newark Artists.
Well,
who are these artists and why do they matter to all of us?
Well, I think artists like Willie Cole, though he's not emerging, he is an experienced artist, but it's important for us to have the emerging artists and tell their stories, and that is a connection to our millennials, to our younger audiences, that they want to hear from these artists. They also are artists that are using technology, and here we are known for our innovation. Our makerspace, one of the best in the country. Our planetarium, what we want to do is combine these technologies so that now we are giving and producing STEAM-like workshops and STEAM classes, not only for K through 12 kids, but also for adults, because that's going to give the competitive edge to our Newark.
Before I let you go, this is not the same planetarium when I was in the 6th grade at Ridge Street School in Newark, New Jersey. We used to take the bus down to the museum. First planetarium I ever saw. I just want to make sure it's more advanced than in the 70s, right?
Right. What we're doing is we are reimagining what you knew as the planetarium of the 70s, now what is that in the 21st century.
We'll make sure we visit it. Linda Harrison, Director and CEO, Newark Museum. Welcome from San Francisco, here to Newark to make a big difference every day. Congratulations, all the best.
Thank you so much for having me.
This is One-on-One. This is our NJTV studio, and we'll be right back right after this.
To see more One-on-One with Steve Adubato programs, visit us online at steveadubato.org. If you would like to express an opinion, email us at info@caucusnj.org. Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Steve Adubato, PhD, and follow us on Twitter at Steve Adubato.
Steve Adubato here, coming to you from the Healthcare Foundation in New Jersey. Just finished a very comprehensive, honest dialogue called Breaking the Cycle of Teen Abuse and Bullying. We are joined now after this conversation by Marcy Felsenfeld, who is Senior Program Officer, Healthcare Foundation of New Jersey. Marcy, thank you for joining us. And I said, by the way, let's put some context into this. We're not going to be broadcasting the conversation we had with 9 really top professionals, folks who deal with bullying, teen bullying and abuse. What was your biggest takeaway from it?
No one entity can address these issues. It has to be a multidisciplinary approach. It has to be schools and parents and psychologists and social workers and community centers and houses of worship.
Let's do this. Let's go back, though. Defining. Like someone says, well, bullying and abuse. Everybody knows what that is. What does it look like? Teen bullying and abuse.
Teen bullying and abuse, in short, is one teen trying to exert power over another.
Can happen where?
It can happen online. It can happen in person. It can happen anywhere. But it typically does not happen one-on-one. It typically happens with an audience, whether that's an online audience or an in-person audience. It takes place with people watching, because that's what gives the bully the power that he or she is seeking.
One of the things that happened in the forum that we had as well, there are so many different points of view on this because people come at it from different perspectives. One of the things that we talked about is, hey, we needed to identify solutions, more recommendations for what works. And you said there is no one size fits all, and some things work for some people, don't work for others. Should we be debating what works, or just?
I think that the best solution is to bring representatives, people who work with teens in different settings, who work with families, who work with students together to address the issue, because a school in and of itself cannot address all of the social and emotional learning that a child must have in order to become a kind, caring, and thoughtful adult.
And there was a big discussion about that. Hey, many of the children that, and by the way, it could be children in urban, suburban area, it doesn't matter, socioeconomic status, et cetera. But there was a discussion like, hey, the school should be doing this. And then we got into an honest conversation, sometimes uncomfortable conversation. Well, really, is that what we expect from school administrators, from teachers, with all the other challenges? Well, yeah, let's have, no disrespect to gym teachers, let's have the phys ed teacher pick up the responsibility for being the leader in the school for the anti-bullying and abuse program, you say?
Well, I think that so many of the problems that we face in society are systemic. So you can talk to a physician about the fact that a patient is not compliant with treatment because they don't have a home. Well, how does a physician address that? There's a system that works that blankets the physician that should blanket the physician with supportive services, so that these issues that lead to people being unable to maintain health
social determinants
can be
of health.
addressed. And I think you can think of it the same way in an education system. A child can't learn, a child can't comply with what's expected of them in the classroom if they don't have a safe home. If they don't even have a home, but if they are a victim of some other trauma, regular exposure to domestic violence, regular exposure to unstable relationships, that child is not going to be able to sit in their seat, as we discussed, and learn.
What about this? Anyone who says this is the reason why teen bullying and abuse takes place, it's not really a good conversation, a healthy conversation, because there are so many, as you said, factors. But one of the areas we did get into in the panel that I want to talk to you about, to what degree do our elected officials, particularly at the highest level, the way they conduct themselves, whether they conduct themselves with with dignity, with respect for others, and speak in ways without name-calling and mocking people's physical appearance, just saying horrific things, including what they are able to do to women because they can. What does that have to, if anything, do with the discussion around teen abuse and bullying? Long-winded question, I'm sorry.
I think it's part of what informs a teen's identity or awareness. If these things are being accepted in the public sphere, if it's okay to debase women, and then a teen can learn that. But when you're talking about, I think somebody in the panel referenced the fact that for a teen, for a 10-year-old, 11-year-old, 12-year-old, their world can be very small. It's not necessarily influenced by, leadership in the country. I think I'm of two minds, because part of me feels that when our role models, I hate to use that word, when our leadership,
They are leaders.
They are leaders, and they set a tone in the country,
and they set a tone
in an extremely public way that it's okay to treat people in unconscionable ways,
including on social media. Which is where a lot of teens communicate.
Exactly. I mean, kids learn from that. Kids see that as acceptable. Now, kids might also see their parents say, they might also experience their parents saying, this is not how we treat each other. This is not okay. This is, these behaviors should not be rewarded.
So it's an opportunity.
It could be
as well.
It should be an opportunity.
Or there are some parents, and by the way, for those who think this is a conversation about politics, it is not. It is a conversation about the way we interact with each other, the way we treat each other, which is the whole point of breaking the cycle of abuse and teen abuse and bullying. But I'm also curious, there are a whole lot of parents, and I said this as I was moderating the forum, there are a fair number of parents I know who say, yeah, but I separate people's words from their policies or whatever else. Do you say words matter?
Definitely.
Because?
Words matter. Because when you consider a person, they're not just their accomplishments. They're not just what they have achieved. When you understand somebody, you're also looking at how they got to those places. You have the example of the Stanford University swimmer who was extremely accomplished, got into Stanford University, was an accomplished swimmer, had achieved what many parents would see as success, but then, rapes a co-ed on campus. He accomplished many great things in his young life, but he still is an abuser.
And again, an opportunity for parents and those around teens to talk about that. Last question. Why is the Healthcare Foundation of New Jersey, to fully disclose, underwriting what we are doing, and we're not the only entity in the nonprofit world that is trying to talk about this, others who are actually doing things about it, services, helping, resources for teens. Why is the Healthcare Foundation so committed to this area?
We think that the issue of bullying and the issue of adolescent mental health is extremely important. And much of our attention, much of our capacity is to fund organizations to do work in the community to address some of these issues. But another lever that we have to influence public discourse and conversation is to fund programs like yours and to have the conversation take place on a higher level in the community, to bring these issues to others' attention. And it's just one more way that we could try to help the community that we're tasked with.
There is no one solution.
Yeah.
Thank you, Marcy.
Okay.
To watch more One-on-One with Steve Adubato, find us online and follow us on social media.
We are honored to be joined by Ashanti Jones, a Neighborhood Alley coordinator, South Ward Children's Alliance. Good to see you.
Good to see you, too. Thanks for having me.
Ashanti, we met you through our good friend and colleague, Michael Hill, right here. We're taping at NJTV. NJTV News did a Michael did a 5-part series on adverse childhood experiences, ACEs. He featured you, told your story. You're going to help tell it here. Before you tell it, Michael, I will say that when we had Michael on our one-on-one program, Michael said that no interview has ever moved him the way his interview with you did. You were 7 years of age. Talk about adverse childhood experiences. What happened at 7?
At 7, I was removed from my mom's care due to drug abuse and neglect, and placed into foster care, separated from my older and younger brother.
How long were you separated from your family?
Well, we're still separated, but I was adopted at 16, so 10 years later.
So, you know, parents were drug addicted. You grew up around violence.
Yes.
Poverty. And this Adverse Childhood Experiences Initiative, which people are talking about nationally, which is part of our larger, and you'll see the website as I talk about this, our Right From the Start NJ initiative, which talks about what happens to infants and toddlers growing up and the long-term impact. Very few, well, let me say this. We wish more folks who experienced the kind of adverse childhood experiences you did have grown up, were able to grow up to do what you're doing right now. First of all, what happened at 17 for you that turned things around?
Well, at 17, I was a senior in high school at West Orange High School, and
in Newark?
Well, that was in West Orange, so West Orange High School.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was at West Orange High School for only a year. It was my last year in high school. It was my 3rd high school, and it was time to graduate. You know, and all of my colleagues were graduating, and my guidance counselor pretty much sat me down and it was like, you have a 0.7 GPA, like it's not gonna happen for you. And I kind of took that and was like, how can I possibly know, that my mom's story and everything that happened with her and see what happened to her and us, her children, and knowing that I wanted to be a mother. How can I allow that to happen to me? And so I agreed to take an additional year of high school. And I passed all of my classes with A's, and I was able to actually get into William Patterson University.
Studying?
Starting in 2000.
No, studying.
Oh, studying psychology and Africana World Studies. So I did a double major there.
Look at you graduating. What was that like? We're looking at a picture of you graduating. What was that like for you?
I cried right after that photo was taken. It was such a moment for me because I realized that I had accomplished something that no one in my birth family had done. I was overwhelmed. Like even in the ceremony, it didn't really hit me until the diploma was really in my hand.
You know, the work you're doing now, describe it.
So I'm working right now with the Southward Children's Alliance, and what we're doing.
Southward, that's in Newark.
Yes,
right.
That's in Newark. That's in the South Ward of Newark, so that handles the Clinton Hill section, Weequay, and Dayton sections of Newark. And what we do is we provide social emotional supports for families who have poverty issues, any kind of social and emotional adversity that children are facing, to make sure that we're producing kids in the South Ward who are able to be successful through college and career.
Ashanti, what do you tell them given your personal experience? Because you understand in a way that very few others could.
Well, I always let them know that it's never too late, right? And it's never too late to ask for help. And it's never wrong to accept it. So I come across families, because as the neighborhood ally coordinator, I'm responsible for recruitment and being the public face of the organization, so I'm the first contact. And I sometimes see people trying to shy away or hide things that are happening. I'm like, no, be transparent, there's help here. And we want to support you and your children to make sure that they have a different outcome than you did, because poverty is generational, and we want to make sure that we're stopping that.
You're a mother.
I am.
That's a big smile on your face.
It was the best thing that ever happened to me.
How old?
My son is 18 months now.
Oh my God. Look at that picture.
That's Isaiah.
That's Isaiah?
Yes.
What's it like?
It's surreal sometimes.
Particularly given the way you grew up.
It's surreal sometimes. When I first found out I was pregnant, I was terrified. I never really had a mother. So it was like, how do I be a mother to this young boy that I'm about to raise? And every day, it's like I'm so intentional with what I do with him and how I interact with him and how I'm supporting him. Just because I want to ensure that all of those things and those feelings that I had growing up, I don't pass that along to my child.
Ashanti, for all those, and again, we'll put up our website, the Right From the Start website. We'll continue to talk about adverse childhood experiences. But that's jargon, an adverse childhood experience. One thing is describing it, the other thing is living it, as you have. What's your message to all those millions of others who have experienced and will experience those horrific experiences for all kinds of reasons?
So there's something I always like to remind myself. It's actually a Bible verse, and it's that nothing can compare to the glory that shall be revealed in us. And so what that means is, right now we're going through, trials, tribulations, things that might seem as if there's no light at the end of that tunnel, but nothing will be able to compare to what we will look like when we come on the other side of that. So we might be going through things now. However, there's always, help along the way, and there's always an end game. And the end game can be, your story, And I think that that's really important to know. That it's just really important to just, live in the moment and understand that this too shall pass.
Ashanti, you honor us by being with us, by telling your story, by inspiring others. We thank our friend Michael Hill and the team at NJTV News for introducing you to us and so many others. And most importantly, we wish you all the best in the work you're doing every day on behalf of others who just need a helping hand. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Well done.
One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been a production of the Caucus Educational Corporation, celebrating over 30 years of broadcast excellence. Funding for this edition of One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been provided by PSC&G, United Airlines, Choose New Jersey, TD Bank, the New Jersey Economic Development Authority, the Turl Fund, supporting Right From the Start NJ, and by Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield of New Jersey. Transportation provided by Airbrook Limousine, serving the metropolitan New York, New Jersey area.
Education begins at birth. The brain develops most rapidly from birth to age 3, when critical skills are developed. Parents are the first and best teachers for their children, but for those like me who work, finding quality, affordable childcare can be challenging. But children have the greatest opportunities for success when they learn and have positive interactions with their caregivers. Because learning doesn't start in the classroom, it starts in the cradle.